Leading up to the Civil War. The North and the South's war was inevitable. The North and the South just wanted things that were too different, so they had to change it. But the only way to change it was to go to war. The market revolution made things easier, like transportation and communication. Transportation was easier because of the advance in railroads and canals. The railroads and canals made it easier to transport goods from place to place. Communication was faster because of the telegraph, and the telegraph made it easier to communicate demands for the army. But for some, it made life harder, like your average southern plantation owner. Unless you were someone who knew how to work the market, life was miserable. The reason the South seceded from the Union was because the southern states didn't like that the federal government was getting stronger than the state governments. Also because the North wanted to rid the states of slavery. The South's economy thrived on slavery, so obviously the South did not like the idea. The Second Great Awakening occurred around the beginning of the 19th century. It was a reaction to skepticism and Christianity. It was an uproar of millions of new members joining new denominations. The abolition movement was to make it illegal for anyone to force someone to do manual labor, basically slavery. Now, this movement did eventually pass, but there were a couple of complications. The South did not want to make slavery illegal. Their economy thrived on it, so without slavery the South would crumble. So the South seceded. The U.S. had to go through the most awful war it will ever go through, but the Union will later become victorious. Women did not have many rights, but they had a big impact on the reforms. One example is the temperance movement. This was the movement on prohibition of alcohol. Women did not have any rights. Really, they didn't even work out of the home until the Lowell factories. So they started a women's rights movement. The Seneca Falls Convention was where 300 women showed up to fight for women's rights. The North's economy thrived on shipbuilding, fishing, and industrialization. The South's economy thrived on slavery and farming. In the North, women were thought to have more rights than they did in the South. In the North, they did believe in slavery. They actually wanted to make it illegal. But if it was up to the South, there would still be some sort of slavery today. The North had the advantage in the Civil War because they had a way more advanced transportation system. This made it easier to transport goods to the battlefield, like food or ammo, guns, whatever they really needed. The telegraph made it easier to communicate during the Civil War, which means demands could be communicated faster, though things could get done quicker. Abraham Lincoln didn't see slaves as property. He didn't even believe in slavery. He thought that African Americans deserved the rights of any white man. His ideas and his philosophy was shared by the Union. Lincoln was going to get the 13th Amendment signed if it was the last thing he did. He fought long and hard for the people. He respected his soldiers, so much that after the Battle of Petersburg, Lincoln went to the battlefield to see the aftermath. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment set the slaves free, gave them the right to vote, and gave African Americans equal protection under the law. All these things changed everything about America. Whether the people knew it or not, it was a good change. The 13th Amendment made slavery illegal. The 14th made anyone born here or naturalized a citizen, for example, African Americans. 15th Amendment cannot be denied voting because of race or color or previous servitude, like slavery. For the South's representatives to get back in the House, they had to go through this long process. The South basically had to rebuild everything and start from scratch. The North's economy was booming because of the war. They could not be in a better place. The North's representatives were pretty much making the decisions until the South's representatives were brought back into the House. African Americans gave them a little freedom, but then the South put the black codes in place, so then the 13th Amendment didn't matter. The Reconstruction helped restore the U.S. to what it once was. By U.S., I mean the land.